Since 2002, Elimination Chamber has been one of the nastiest, most elaborate matches on the WWE calendar. Unlike the hyperbole attached to simple gated cages like Hell in a Cell, which really isn't all that hellish anymore, the Chamber, with its corners, heights, and until 2017 grated floors, could legitimately be called brutal. And there's more to it than meets the eye. I'm Andy from What Culture, and here are 10 things you didn't know about WWE Elimination Chamber. Number 10. The random order was telegraphed in the first 2 matches. Entry to the chamber is supposed to be completely at random. You know, the whole pseudo countdown flickery lights deal before the spotlight focuses on whoever's coming in next and they come in the match. But with the first 2 Elimination Chamber matches, WWE kind of ballsed it up. In 2002 and 2003, the random quote-unquote order of the 4 wrestlers who weren't starting, it turned out to be just the order that they came to the ring, which then matched exactly with the order they entered the match. WWE fortunately fixed this problem for future incarnations, and you can believe one of 2 stories here. Either A, it was basic incompetence, or B, you subscribe to the popular conspiracy theory that nobody actually told the agents the entry was supposed to be random until the 3rd match in 2005. I think both of those choices are just as funny as each other, so take your pick. Number 9. The match was originally Falls Count Anywhere, as in Falls Count Anywhere inside the structure. Originally, eliminations could take place inside the ring and on the wacky steel platform surrounding it, but in 2012 this rule was quietly changed, meaning that pinfalls and submissions had to happen between the ropes. It has made the match a little less chaotic, but a good deal safer. And besides, prior to this, only 2 eliminations had ever taken place outside the ring anyway. We had The Undertaker whacking Finlay in 2007 and CM Punk getting smoked by John Cena in 2011. Number 8. It's all about the game. Triple H holds the record for the most wins in Elimination Chamber, coming in with a total of 4. Now, to be fair, these came at a time when Triple H was one of the most strongest pushed people in the entire company. A bunch of them went down during the infamous Reign of Terror and then in the late 2000s. 2003, 2005, 2008, and 2009 all saw Triple H triumph, which is perhaps not all that surprising given that Triple H has another connection to the chamber that we'll cover a little bit later on. There is, however, another chamber record that Triple H couldn't get his hands on, and it's held by one of his biggest rivals. Number 7. Chris Jericho, Elimination Chamber MVP. With 8 apiece, Chris Jericho and Randy Orton hold the record for the most Elimination Chamber appearances, but Jericho also owns the record for most eliminations. He has taken out a total of 10 different blokes during his time in the chamber, but he's actually only won it once, in 2010. Another interesting thing that people don't often remember is that Jericho was also the first person to be thrown through the supposedly bulletproof glass. But despite not working for WWE for several years now, Jericho remains the Elimination King. Number 6. Triple H invented the Elimination Chamber. Triple H was actually the man behind the chamber gimmick in the first place. "I invented it," said Paul, and no, I'm not going to do an impression. He continued, "I drew a square cage and put 4 other squares in the corners, and I said, it's 6 guys, 2 start, and every few minutes another cage opens and 1 more guy enters the fight, and everyone fights until there's only 1 guy left." Triple H said that the Elimination Chamber ended up being twice as big and elaborate as he originally envisioned, adding that when he stood in front of it for the very first time, he didn't actually want anybody knowing it was his idea. Oh dear, but presumably his stance on this has changed given that it's 2023 and he's currently promoting it as a premium live event. Number 5. But Eric Bischoff took on-screen credit for it. Considering that Triple H decided he didn't want to be credited for the chamber the minute he stood inside of it, it's kind of funny that kayfabe lore credits former WCW chief Eric Bischoff as the man behind it. Bischoff laid out the chaotic new stipulation on screen in 2002. He was in direct competition with SmackDown general manager Stephanie McMahon at the time, and in kayfabe, he felt that the risk was worth the reward, as he put his roster's bodies on the line in the name of brand supremacy. The gimmick's comparisons to War Games were evident whether Vince McMahon wanted it or not, so it seemed believable that Bischoff wanted that match back on screen as much as Paul Levesque himself. Number 4. 4. Mark Henry's pod broke and it ruined the match. In 2015, the Intercontinental title Elimination Chamber structure fell apart, leading to the match falling apart as well. The plexiglass on Mark Henry's pod was broken when Dolph Ziggler was thrown into it midway through the match. This meant that the world's strongest man had to jump into the match early in the contest. This led to the announcers questioning if he was even legal, and things just kind of collapsed from there. At one point, a broken door stunt saw Sheamus illogically beam with glee as he entered a little bit early himself, even though he was just about to do it anyway by normal means. Everything after that was just kind of anemic and devoid of kayfabe drama before a largely bored crowd. Their boredom was understandable. Number 3. Shayna Baszler was the first to run the field. It took 17 years before somebody finally eliminated every single other participant in an Elimination Chamber match. But that's exactly what Shayna Baszler did when she destroyed everybody and won a Raw Women's title shot in 2020. Asuka, Liv Morgan, Natalya, Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan were all bested by the Submission Magician as she punched her ticket for WrestleMania. It appeared like a genuine attempt at heating Baszler up as a legitimate killer. Her run since then, unfortunately, hasn't quite panned out that way, but this was one hell of a night regardless. Number 2. It's not Elimination Chamber in Germany. Elimination Chamber has taken several forms over the years. Introduced as a stipulation in 2002, it became its own premium live event in 2010, eventually becoming the perfect WrestleMania primer positioned between the Royal Rumble and the biggest show of the year. Branding-wise, the only major change WWE has ever made to the chamber came in Germany, where the show became known as No Escape. Understandably, this was to avoid connotations with the gas chambers used during the Holocaust. After holding on to WWE's old No Way Out branding for the show in 2011 and 2012, everything switched to the new label, No Escape, in 2013, and it has stayed that way ever since. Number 1. The Undertaker wanted to kill the Pyro guy in 2010. Remember that time The Undertaker was almost fried alive on pay-per-view? Well, if you don't, a pyro accident saw Taker briefly engulfed while trying to enter Elimination Chamber in 2010, leaving the dead man rooting around for water bottles to try and deal with the immense pain and discomfort he was going through. Years later, when Undertaker appeared on Broken Skull Sessions, he revealed that he wanted to kill the guy responsible. Despite all that water, every time I look down, my skin is bubbling up more and more. I'm trying my hardest to stay focused, but I'm also thinking in my head, I'm about to kill this Pyro guy. Undertaker added that he'd actually spoken to the Pyro guy in question a couple of weeks before, letting him know that the Pyro was a little bit too close to him and he was starting to feel it. Then we got to the pay-per-view, and yeah, the Pyro was definitely too close to him. It's safe to say the Undertaker was well within his right to be a little bit upset. So that's our list of Elimination Chamber facts. But what do you guys reckon? Let us know down in the comment section below. After that, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring the bell for notifications. Then you can follow us on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE and myself at Andy H. Murray. The H stands for H. Goodbye.